let's take a look at what other regions or other tournaments had going on. I checked with Yugioh Pro Deck this morning. They have a list of a bunch of regionals that happened. Not all of this information is complete, but we're going to have a pretty good overview of what's going on in the TCG. And at the end, we're also going to take a look at the French Open, which happened and had over 800 players. Obviously, it was won by Dinka Bui, as most of you probably already know, who should be pretty good in terms of the Worlds race at this point because of this as well, which is nice to see. But we're going to take a look at the results of that later. I've already opened up some of the bigger regionals in extra tabs here. So we've got the Aurora regional here with over 600 duelists, or approximately 600 is what it says, which was won by White Forest Fiendsmith, with some toy cards in it as well. So that's an interesting look. Overall, though, my first impression, because I was also checking out the stream of the French Open a little bit. You know, the event was streamed, all 10 rounds, and there was a lot of Malice. There was a lot of Malice in the French Open stream, and the same picture is in these other tournaments here. We have half of top 8 in the Aurora regional was Malice decks. I will say, from what I've seen, a lot of Malice decks are using Bystials now and Fiendsmith. So to an extent, it feels more like a Malice splash in like Fiendsmith Bystial overlap. It's kind of like how people have been using Tenpai in what's it called in Fiendsmith Bystial. It's like, at least you have a plan if you don't draw your Malice cards, right? Because that's, I think, the thing you have to worry about the most at the moment is like, you have 2 Dormouse, 2 White Rabbit, 2 Field Spells. What if you don't draw your starter, right? So what they do is they play like Fiendsmith and Bystial, so you can still have like the Fiendsmith Bystial backup plan, right? And so that was seemingly still a pretty good concept this weekend. It felt pretty strong. It felt pretty strong when I played against it at locals. Fiendsmith Malice. It was also Fiendsmith Malice that I played against with some Bystials, so it still feels scary. It seems like that is currently the deck to beat, I want to say, cautiously, but ended up being White Forest here that won. Which obviously White Forest has not been seeing as much play. Is still I think it's a pretty strong deck still. Has some issues with Molcharmies, but other than that, it can set up some trap cards in like few summons sometimes. Pretty explosive deck using Fiendsmith cards here as well, and toy cards. And of course, the existence of Magistus Chorozo is a pretty big deal for White Forest, because I think it turns Diabellstar into full combo. I think without that, it wouldn't be. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what the line is off of Diabellstar, but I think you can now get into the White Forest combo off of Diabellstar, which previously wasn't possible. It's like Diabellstar into Deception, tribute a monster from your hand, I think. Then you summon Murcielago, you add Wanted, or Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. I'm not sure which one you add. Then you do Fiendsmith. And then isn't Chorozo a tuner? No, it's not a tuner. Where do you get the tuner from in that equation? You add LZ. Oh! That's what it is. You add... It is... Yeah, it doesn't show as a tuner here, which confused me, but I'm pretty sure it is a tuner. Yeah, then... Okay, yeah, no. The Murcielago adds the LZ, and then you go Fiendsmith, and when Fiendsmith is equipped with the Link monster, you can turn it plus a spellcaster into Chorozo. Oh no, you don't go Fiendsmith. You just make it with the Murcielago and the Diabellstar. You don't need to go Fiendsmith. Yeah. Yeah, because it's a fusion plus a Diabell Star. Yeah. And then, because it's a tuner, you now have a way to synchro with the LZ. So that's how the LZ gets you into your stuff. Yeah. You make the Silvera, you make the Arciella, and then you have your White Forest combo without a normal summon. And you still have the Omni from... No, actually, you don't have a Sinful Spoil, right? At this point. You'd need to add a Sinful Spoils of the White Forest later to still get the Omni from Ilia Sylvia, right? You can probably do that, though. Yeah, LZ gives you that. Yeah, so you get the Omni a little bit later than usual. So, but you can't protect your stuff early with it, but you get it later. Yeah. Shout out to Fiendsmith Sank No Lurie budget list. I suppose, but I've actually heard some people like discuss this recently because it's just less deck space and technically less bricks if you don't have a normal summon for Lurie. I've heard some people talk about playing Fiendsmith without Tracked and without Lurie just to play Sanct. It also does play around Droll and Lockbird. Like if you activate Engraver and add Sanct, there is some merit to it. There really is some merit to it. I think Sanct is just significantly worse going second, but going first, it's fine. And if you just go into Fiendsmith via Closed Moon, then it doesn't matter that you play Tracked, right? It's a psyop to tank the Tracked stonks. I mean, I suppose it would be nice if Tracked was cheaper, but it is a genuine option. It is a genuine option. No Ash Blossom? Look, I didn't make the deck. No Ash Blossom seems weird to me, but at the same time, I said the deck is weak into Fuva a little bit, but on second thought, White Forest is probably okay into Fuva. Because you can set up like Woes, Morian, maybe Sinful Spoils of the White Forest as well, under like in like 2 draws or something. Like it's not that bad. I think it's not crazy to play Sanct over a copy of Tracked in a deck that plays multiple. Conflicting with Bestials and Nib is the biggest issue. Yeah, like in some decks, you certainly could play a Fiendsmith Sanct, yeah. But it's like a lot of, like, because Sanct has that awkward restriction where you can only control Light Fiends, it does really conflict with Bestials and Nibiru, which are in a lot of decks at the moment. So yeah. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it is a budget decision. Which would be understandable, to be honest. You know, it would be understandable to say like, yo, you know what? I'll play the Sanct, no Tract, it's fine. But yeah, that is the White Forest deck that won the Aurora regional. We had another regional here, which was a little bit smaller, approximately 300 duelists. That one was won by Blue Eyes. Unfortunately, there's no list here. But Blue Eyes is actually first and second in this one, and the most represented deck in top 8 here. I think this is the only regional that I saw that had no Malice in top 8. The only regional in top 8 that had no Malice, and it had 3 Blue Eyes and 2 Christrons, which is pretty cool to see. Crystron is a deck that I still want to learn myself. I haven't really gotten around to it yet, but it is a deck that I want to get familiar with for national season, and probably going to take a look at it soon once all the cards arrived for it. I ordered all of them on Card Market, but I don't have everything here yet. But eventually I'm going to try and learn Crystron. Yeah, the deck seems pretty solid, actually. I think like it's not super well represented, but it's still doing pretty well, I would say. And then, of course, Blue Eyes is one of the biggest decks after the ban list, I would say. It's like, in some ways, I feel like it hasn't lived up to its hype yet. And at the first weekend, it won this regional, but I think at the French Open, it was not super well represented, if I remember correctly, but we'll see. Blue Eyes is definitely strong. I think what I realized this past weekend is I personally think the biggest reason why Blue Eyes is so good is the Primite cards. The Blue Eyes engine is solid, but I just think it so happens to be one of the best shells for the Primite cards, which are just phenomenal Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like Primites are just so good. To the point where sometimes if you play against Blue Eyes and they don't have access to the Primite cards, yeah. I don't get why Blue Eyes Primite and not Primite Fiendsmith. I mean, the Primite Fiendsmith deck is just hasn't really been out there. I mean, I've seen some people playing it, but not like to great extent. Stark Redox time. You can play more copies of Primite by using Redox. Yeah, that's true. If you can get it banished. That's very funny if you did that. But yeah, Blue Eyes is obviously pretty strong. The deck hasn't changed post-banlist, so we don't really have to talk about it too much. There was a remote duel regional with about 200 duelists, which had Memento doing well again, which is obviously this deck is to be expected at the moment. It's a pretty strong deck, I would say. Memento is also a deck I want to mess around with at some point. It's pretty strong. As well as Odeon Fiendsmith getting a second place at the remote regionals, which is also pretty cool to see. This deck is, I think, a force to be reckoned with in the upcoming format. I also know that I think Dinka and Ben going to the French Open were considering a version of Odeon. I don't know exactly which one they were going to play, but ultimately they both decided for other decks, but it is definitely an option. Dominus Purge plus Fiendsmith plus Odeon is a pretty solid package, I think. I do like this deck, and it was able to get second place at this regional. Then we had the Greek Open happen in, Greece. And that one was pretty dominated by Bestial Malice Fiendsmith, the deck I was talking about earlier. 3 out of the top 4 in this tournament were playing Bestial Malice Fiendsmith, which, funnily enough, is even labeled as a Bestial deck here. There's no lists here, so I don't know the exact ratios, but it really seems like, I mean, you have 8 good Malice starters, right? You have 2 Dormouse, 2 White Rabbit, 2 Underground, 1 Gold Sark, and 1 Terraforming. So you have 8 Malice starters, and then you're just playing Bestial Fiendsmith with some Malice engine requirements. You were a doubter when you watched Pack's list post-ban list. I mean, yeah, I suppose. I mean, it's just like, I wouldn't play it because I don't like it that much, but it does seem like a fine concept. Because, like, worst case, I suppose you're playing Bestial Fiendsmith if you don't see any of your Malice cards. And then best case, you're playing, if you draw your Malice starters, then you're just playing Malice as if it was pre-ban list. It has less room for non-engine. But, I mean, Bestials do kind of make up for that if you're playing against the right matchups. It's a lot more Malice cards than Bestials. Yeah, I think it's probably more of a Malice deck than a Bestial deck, but whatever. The Malice deck is way less FTK. It's very good going first, but the end board feels like you still play a bit. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't really, like, because I played my Primite Fiendsmith deck, and when I played against Malice, I didn't let them full combo, right? Because I was playing so many hand traps. But there is a world where you could argue the Malice end board is not that crazy anymore. The thing is, if you mix it with Fiendsmith and Bestial, it can still potentially get pretty crazy, right? Because, like, they're not going to do just the Malice combo. Depending on their hand, they're also going to do Fiendsmith and, like, Regained and search, like, an extra Bestial to their hand. So it's like Malice Disruptions plus Paradise plus rank 6 plus Regained plus Druid's Worm in hand, or plus Baldrake in hand. And at that point, it becomes pretty unbeatable. It's like the same thing that happened with Fiendsmith Ryzeal, right? Like, Ryzeal endboard in a nutshell was okay, or like in a vacuum rather. The Ryzeal endboard was fine, But if you added Fiendsmith combo to it, suddenly it was probably a little bit too much. And I think the same is true here. Like this sort of that's why they're also playing it as a hybrid. Like I feel like the individual pieces add up to something that's more just it adds up to more than the sum of its pieces. Type deal. But yeah. That deck is still going pretty strong, and now we're going to take a look at the results from the French Open, which was the biggest tournament that happened this weekend. Dude, the Opens, sometimes they feel like they really do feel like major events to an extent. Like 10 rounds, dude, 800 duelists, that's crazy. French Open was won by Dinka Bui on pure Fire King again, which to an extent does not surprise me because it is Dinka Bui and Dweller also got banned. On the other hand, this is the only showing that Fire King had in all of these tournaments we've just looked at. It's just this one top of pure Fire King, which is obviously a deck I absolutely adore. I love the pure Fire King deck. I'm so happy it worked out for a Ka at the French Open. Going undefeated. And like to an extent, I mean, you gotta give it to pure Fire King, right? Like it's a good deck. It was capable of winning a YCS before Dweller was banned. So who's really surprised that the deck that has received no hits is now winning when Dweller is banned? Like, I don't know. This deck's fine. And that is cool. You know, I think this deck's only issue now is like consistency somewhat, right? Like whenever I was watching a Ka feature, he was just like, you know, I'm a normal summon Olkinix. People forget how to play Yu-Gi-Oh versus Dinka. It's insane. I mean, but dude, that just means the better player won, right? So you can't really complain about that. Other than that, we have a Ryzeal top 4 here, which I would love to see exactly how they're using the Ryzeal deck post ban list. We have an Odeon in top 8 as well. The craziest part about this tournament was that Snake Eyes was in the finals, which was basically like I was like. I didn't watch the entire stream of the tournament, but like when they were writing in the team chat that Dinka was about to play the finals, we were just like watching the finals together on Discord. And I tuned into the stream and it's just like Dinka is up against Snake Eyes in the finals. And I'm like, what is going on there? Why is there a Snake Eye in the finals of the French Open? And then it turns out it was just basically, it's kind of like, the best way I can describe it is just like it felt more like good stuff flop pile than actual Snake Eye deck, because I mean it was a Snake Eye deck. They were playing like Ashes and Poplars and Bonfire and Divine Temple and even the other Snake Eye quick play spell, and it was like Diabellstar Wanted, Azamina, Kashtira cards as well, which I think like that is a big question for this current format in the TCG. I wonder if it's going to remain for Post Alliance Insight, but Kashtira versus Bestial seems to be a huge question at the moment in the current format. I have already seen the Snake Eye list, Jordan. I've already watched it earlier this morning because I was interested in it. Kashtira cards seem very powerful right now into this format, because Kashtira Unicorn is basically a game-winning card against both Malice and even like the remainder of Ryzeal, but also against Fiendsmith, right? Like most of the Fiendsmith decks only have room for one Requiem. So you Kashtira Unicorn that card, the entire Fiendsmith engine falls apart. You Kashtira Unicorn Malice Whitebinder, dude. Or like, even better, if you're going first, let's say you special summon Unicorn and you start comboing next to it. Your opponent hand traps you. You look at your opponent's extra deck. It's Fiendsmith Malice. okay? You take the Requiem on your turn, or you take the White Binder on your turn, and then on your opponent's turn, they start playing into your Unicorn. You take the other part. And so basically, you open Kashtira, they play without White Binder and without Fiendsmith. That's insane. Same thing with Ryzeal. You notice you're playing against Ryzeal, take away the Detonator, it's at 1. The entire deck, I feel like, falls apart. You haven't won on the spot, but it's pretty freaking likely you're gonna win. So, and then going second into Ryzeal, it's the same kind of deal where if they make Detonator, and you have Fenrir this time, not Unicorn, the Detonator is exposed, right? If you can banish it face down, it's also banished forever. So they have to play really carefully around that Fenrir. So the Kashtira cards are phenomenal right now. The problem is they clash with some other really popular cards in the format. They clash with Nibiru, they clash with Bystials. Bystials is the more important one. Where, like, because so many people are playing Fiendsmith, so many, like, you are so inclined to play, you're so inclined to play Bystials, right? And, like, that is a little bit of anti-synergy. Of course, also, Kashtira cards take up a lot of space in your deck. Like, that, if you play a big Kashtira engine, that's like 8 or 9 cards that that just are not available for non-engine or whatever. So I don't know, it's interesting, but like the Kashtira cards are really something that, you know, really, really powerful engine. And I think that was my takeaway from watching the Snake Eye deck play in the finals of French Open. We can actually, you know what? We can take a quick look at the finals of the French Open if I can find it real quick. Because I thought it was an interesting thing. It's not going to be a blind react because obviously I did watch it yesterday, but I did feel like it was worth pointing. Or it was worth checking out. Hold up. Yeah, literally pre-watched. We can speed it up a little bit. Hold up. When does it start? Oh, that's game 2 already. All right, yeah. So it's Dinka on the bottom versus Rico on Snake Eye here. Let me put it to 1.5. I just felt like in both of these in these games, the Kashtira cards could have really made a difference. Because I think at least in game 1, I'm pretty sure Rico does not have a Kashtira card, but it could have definitely made a difference. So we go Prosperity for 6. Last card revealed is the Olkinix, which I'm not sure if we needed that or not. May have already had it. No, we need the Olkinix. Okay, so Hard Draw Island. Pops the Olkinix. I forgot TCG still has Prosperity. It's at 1. It's at 1. Onyx to search either Skyburn or the Continuous if you want it. We're going to get the Sanctuary. Why did you not do this open? It was very far away from where I live. And that's the end board of Pure Fire Kings, everybody. We're done. That's the combo. I love that deck, dude. All right, standby phase. The Garunix is going to come back. That's going to destroy the Promethean Princess and the Ponix. We don't have to bring back the Garunix here. We're going to have another option later. And this is where I was like, you know, maybe a good Snake Eye hand can break this. So we start with Fiendsmith. I think we have to, isn't it mandatory? No, I mean the other Garunix. We don't have to bring it back yet because it's going to be able to be triggered later. So this engraver will force some sort of disruption, and it's the Druid Worm here, which is really nice. That's going to stop it from forcing out the it's going to stop it from forcing out the fire from the field. Speaking of Bystials, I think that was one of the main reasons why the Fire King deck was successful this tournament, is because Bystials were super popular, and Bystials are just super ass against the Fire King deck. That is like genuinely one of the main reasons to play like Fire King or Mermail at the moment, is like so many Bystials around. I felt like, from what I've seen. I haven't watched every single round, but it felt like every single round I was watching, there was a Bystial on the board. Ooh, looks like we go Talons to take. Trying to get rid of the only fire monster. That's prompting the Skyburn. And now we're going to use the Garunix. If this gets called by the grave, it'd be pretty awful, but it won't. Crystron also ignores Bystials? Yeah. Yeah. It's just a, but that's the sort of thing that is a meta development kind of thing. If like, if people now realize, okay, everyone's playing Bystials, let me play some less Fiendsmith, let me maybe play a deck that's immune to Bystials, and then people are going to go down on Bystials again. Like, that sort of stuff is always a meta trend kind of thing. I guess we did not know about this. Ooh, Bonfire. All right, that card's limited. There comes one of the 2 copies of Snake Eye Poplar. I cannot understand how Fire King is able to go 10-0 in this environment. It's really impressive. I don't find it that... I think Fire King... I guess the one thing to be surprised about is, like, you do need to draw consistent hands across 10 rounds. Because the deck is a little inconsistent. So that's the only thing I'd be worried about. Consistency issues. But once again, you're playing best of 3, right? So like, if as long as you can win all or most of the games that you don't brick in, if you brick 1 game in a match, you're still fine, right? No consistency issue if you watch Ka, it's always Volcanics. Yeah. Yeah. Another thing, funnily enough, that also applies to Fire King and Mermail is the fact that I think Dominus Impulse is a really good card at the moment. Right? I'm pretty sure, I haven't asked Ka for the list yet, but I think he main decked Dominus Impulse. And Dominus Impulse is very good against Malice and a lot of other decks. Is Impulse ever a bad card? I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Ka main decked it for YCS Birmingham, right? Because there was like too much Ryzeal and it wasn't that good against Ryzeal. I'd be surprised if it wasn't in the main deck in this deck though. Dude, the Fire King interruptions are so layered, dude. It's so beautiful. The Snake Eye deck is holding up quite well though, to be honest. Like the Snake Eye deck is not a terrible showing for the Snake Eye deck here. Of course, they did draw Bonfire, which is a one-off, but pretty neat. Considering we drew no non-engine so far, basically. I mean, they haven't... that was a thrust, but... Before using Field Spell, he was supposed to go Anima, then use Field Spell. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was... In this exact moment, I was thinking, why don't we link off the Poplar to get the Oak in the Spell Trap zone? And then we can bring that back with Temple, so we can tag out into Flamberge. I was thinking exactly that. But I don't think it makes a difference. Yeah, I can move over. I guess that must be the reason why Rico decided to play Thrust in this deck as well, right? Because going second, it's more copies of Bonfire or Talents, right? Which is actually a pretty good reasoning, I think. Like this deck, the difference between having access to Bonfire when going second or not is really good. It can also be Fiendsmith, yeah, because of Tract. Rico might have played blind second Snake Eye. He did that at the 3v3 in Birmingham. See, I don't know who won the dice roll in this game. But what I do know is that game 2, he is going to send him first, which I thought was surprising, but I mean, yeah, but now it's just game, right? But it is worth noting that like Rico got kind of close in this game, right? It was basically all of the Fire King interruptions. It was Skyburn, Arvata, Sanctuary, Promethean Princess, Garunix, Kirin Pop, everything, right? Plus Valor, plus Druis Worm. And we got kind of close. We got kind of close. Also funny that the French Open had a finals consisting of 2 German-speaking people. Yeah, I mean, I think Rico is from Switzerland, but it is, yeah, I'm pretty sure they just spoke German in the finals of the French Open, which is funny. So yeah, that's Dinka winning game 1, and then for game 2, this was surprising to me because it was like Rico made him go first again, and of course we draw Volcanics. Why did he send them first? That's something you gotta ask them. I don't know. But they were playing more of a board breaker approach to Snake Eyes, so maybe that's why. Maybe they didn't want to get hand trapped and pass and then have like no backup. Rico's deck is pretty weak to Charmies. Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate that this is essentially pretty much the best end board that Dinka's deck can make. And even though it's not that great, like look at this setup, dude. We have managed to get Promethean Arvata, Sanctuary Island, Skyburn, double Kirin in hand, and Garunix in the graveyard. Like this is the dream for this deck. Plus, we can now Prosperity for whatever the best non-engine is that we get off the top. Which is probably just going to be the Veiler to play around like Duster. I mean, not I know it's the Veiler. I watched it. Just showing hand is crazy. No, it was all cards that Rico has seen him add. So it was just like Rico asking, like, what did you add off the Ponix? And he just showed him all the cards because he knew all the cards anyways. It was like the Island added a Kirin, Sunlight Wolf added a Kirin back, and the Ponix added the Skyburn. So it was all known. And at this point, I felt like we were in a call together watching this, and like when Ka made the board, I was like, if Rico has a solid plan here for going second, then maybe it's doable. Because I was thinking about like, I think Evenly Matched is not a bad card in this format. Like, I think Evenly Matched is fine. So I actually don't remember Rico's side deck. I watched the profile, but I don't remember the side deck. An Evenly Matched here would have gone incredibly hard. That would have potentially cooked Ka if we had an Evenly here. And the starting with Engraver here is a pretty bad sign for Rico, because it basically means there's no Evenly. Of course, there can still be Thrust and Talons and stuff like that, but Evenly I felt like was the potential best answer to this board. And going Engraver first, of course, you don't have Evenly. So that's the thing. Is Evenly is not even that broken here. Even it's funny, but like Evenly, you still have Kirin in hand to pop another Kirin to destroy a card, to bring back the Garunix, to do your thing. Like I feel like Evenly was like a necessity here. Have you met Dinka in person? Yes. This once again was like an instance where I thought to myself, like, if we start with a Kashira card here, not necessarily Unicorn, but Fenrir is not bad into this board. Threatens the Arvata, threatens the banish on the princess, you know, like Fenrir would have been pretty good here. So when tier list? I didn't want to make a tier list before Alliance Insight. We're gonna take a deeper look at Alliance Insight, I think, at some point this week. Because I honestly, personally, I can't really wait for like nationals and stuff. Like this TCG ban list has got me so hyped for the game. that I just want to get going with like national prep and stuff. So we're gonna take a look at Alliance Insight soon, and then I want to make a tier list post Alliance Insight. I don't want to do a tier list for this one. I have a YouTube video coming out today or tomorrow, depending on when the editor is done with it, where it's a discussion of like winners and losers of the ban list, like the ban list aftermath thingy. That's basically that for right now. I'm rendering it right now. Oh, okay, perfect. Good. Probably gonna have it up today then. So that is the that's the you know, you can go exclamation mark YouTube and it's gonna be up later today, most likely. But yeah. We are gonna do Jesse collab later. Yeah, once we're done with the French Open recap, we're gonna hop on Master Duel. We're gonna play some ranked, and then we have Jesse coming on in like 2-ish hours, I think. So like this is where it was basically confirmed that Rico was doing like a board breaker approach to Snake Eye. Like this deck is basically just strong engines plus power spells like Thrust, Talons, Droplet, Kashtira, Fiendsmith, Snake Eye, which has been doing very well for them. Even though obviously we know they're losing this finals, we know Ka is winning this. Seems like a pretty good showing for this sort of strategy. And Azamina, yeah, it's basically part of the Snake Eye, yeah. But it's like Diabell Star is a little awkward now, right? Like Diabell Star as a card is a little weird because it cannot bridge into Snake Eye anymore, right? Like if you start with Diabell Star, it's just it gets you Deception, but then the Murcielago gets you nowhere without original, right? You just have to get like another Wanted or whatever. Dramatic Snake Eye Chase, but that's not a Sinful Spoils card. Isn't it kind of criminal that they've made it such a like storyline of 2024, like Fire against Water? Like there's an entire playmat of Atlantean against Fire Kings, and Fire King is like one of the only decks that cannot make use of the best fire support card printed in 2024, Bonfire. Random shower of thought. Well, you could argue Promethean Princess is the most broken support. But that was 2023, right? Dude, that's so long ago. Promethean Princess was end of 2023, right? Agov? No, Promethean was with Poplar. That's 24. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, it was 23 in Master Duel. You're right. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's why I got it mixed up. You're gonna keep the stream live for the Mitsu reveal at 9? At 9? What do you mean at 9? That's in 7 hours. It's at 9 for some reason? No, we're just gonna look at it tomorrow or Wednesday. Because, oh yeah, tomorrow, I'm not sure if I can stream tomorrow. Because, dude, I don't know exactly. We might not have electricity tomorrow randomly because we have some, like, there's like a technician coming to our house. Dude, they have to do something about our, like, electricity thing. Dude, I don't know, man. It's really annoying. And I don't know exactly when they'll be here. And how long it's gonna take. So I cannot, basically, I can't start stream before they're here because they might, you know, they might be here at any moment, and then we have to basically shut down electricity so they can fix something. I don't know exactly what needs to be fixed. And then I have to wait until that's done, so I don't know. I don't know exactly how long it's gonna take. But yeah. Hello, sir. Do you have a playlist? Yes, you can go ! Playlist. You don't have to go looking for a song for 15 minutes. You can also just ask. It's crazy how close Rico gets every time. This game too, genuinely, Rico wins this game too if original is still legal because he summons Poplar, I think, without effect here. Like, because he hard drew the temple and then summons Poplar later and it just doesn't have a target. But it is genuinely impressive how close he's getting here with the Doomed Dragon as well. The Doomed Dragon is a phenomenal card for this strategy. Like I was almost expecting Rico at any moment to just like activate a Millennium card and then just keep going. Like there's no tomorrow. But yeah, basically, Dinka ends up winning this 2-0 this turn, of course. Like this game's over. But it was a cool match, I feel like, because on the one hand, there's Fire King, which is a deck that I really like. On the other hand, there's the Snake Eye deck, which apparently just like blinds second after siding to play around Molcharmies, which is a really cool concept. But also just without original Sinful Spoils, I just enjoy watching Snake Eye a lot more. It's crazy what balancing does to an archetype. It really is crazy what balancing does for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, man. He's not on the Zombie Vampire Millennium Goo. Master Duel fellows would have kept cooking. They just don't care. Look, that's the thing, though. This is something you could do in the TCG now, right? Because we have Doomed Dragon now as well. And, like, the thing is, if you play this deck, Zombie Vampire will almost always give you something crazy, right? Like, you play so many different engines, something's going to be missing, right? Like, you make Zombie Vampire, you hit a Cash T-Rock card, Dia Bellstar, Poplar, Ash, or Oak, a Light Fiend. Like, you can hit so many things off of Zombie Vampire. Like, something's going to be nice for you, right? Yeah, nuts game. And that's obviously Dinka Bui taking down the French Open with your Fire King. Very nice. And Rico also very good showing for the Snake Eye deck. That's my favorite part about new formats, where like people just bring whatever they think could work, and it's beautiful, man. This is like this ban list reminds me a lot of like old school ban lists, where like back in the day when they like murdered a deck and everyone had to like find something else and no one knew what was going to be the best. That's how this format feels like. That is how this format feels like, and it was very fun to watch over the course of the weekend. All right. So that is the current TCG situation, basically. That rounds up the TCG weekend recap. Very fun weekend overall. You know, I had a good time playing my own locals. I had a good time following what was going on here and there. French Open was pretty cool to watch.